Hello students, how are you all? This is Anup sir, your English teacher from Devashya International Public School.
In this video, we will understand a sentence and its types in English grammar. So, without further delay, let us start the topic. Students, a sentence is the largest unit of any language. In English, it begins with a capital letter and ends with a full stop or a question mark or an exclamation mark. A sentence is generally defined as a word or a group of words that expresses a thorough idea by giving a statement or order or asking a question or exclaiming. Ideally, a sentence requires at least one subject and at least one verb. Sometimes, the subject of a sentence can be hidden, but the verb must be visible and present in the sentence. A verb is called the heart of a sentence. Let us see an example. Do it. This is a complete short sentence. In this sentence, subject you is hidden, but the verb do is visible. In other words, a complete English sentence must have three characteristics. First, in written form, a sentence begins with a capital letter and ends with a period, that is, a full stop, a note of interrogation, that is, a question mark, or a note of exclamation, that is, an exclamation mark. Second, it must express a complete thought. Third, it must contain at least one subject that can be hidden or visible and one verb comprising an independent clause. Sentences are of four types. They are declarative sentences, interrogative sentences, imperative sentences, and exclamatory sentences. Now, first let us understand a declarative sentence. A sentence that states something is called a declarative sentence. They are also called assertive sentences or statements. They give information. They may state a fact or an opinion. Declarative sentences always ends with a period, that is, a full stop. Let us see few examples. I like riding my bicycle around the park. This is an example of a declarative sentence which starts with a capital letter and ends with a period. In this sentence, we have a visible subject, that is I, and a verb, that is riding. My essay is better than yours. This is again an example of declarative sentence which starts with a capital letter and ends with a period. In this sentence, we have a visible subject, that is my, and a verb, that is. A declarative sentence can be affirmative or negative. A sentence which states something positive is said to be an affirmative sentence. Examples: I am hungry. It is raining. A sentence which states something negative is said to be a negative sentence. Examples: I am not hungry. It is not raining. Hint: an indirect question is a declarative sentence that tells the information which was asked. It is not asking the question. Indirect questions always end with a period. Let us understand this with an example. The driver asked if we knew which way to turn. This is an indirect sentence which seems like a question, but it is a declarative sentence. We wondered if it was going to rain. This sentence, too, like the earlier example, is an indirect sentence which seems like a question, but it is a declarative sentence. Let us try to understand an interrogative sentence now. An interrogative sentence asks a question, and these sentences always end with a question mark. In English, interrogative questions often begin with interrogative words such as who, whom, which, whose, when, where, why, what, and how. Examples: why are you late? What time is it? Where is the library? Interrogative sentences without question words are generally framed by moving the helping verb such as do, does, and did before the subject. Let us see examples. Do you like tea or coffee? Does he study regularly? Did you go to school yesterday? In these examples, helping verbs is placed before the subject. A question fragment can be added at the end of a declarative sentence. This fragment is called a tag or tail question. Let us see examples. You have done the homework, haven't you? Here, a question tag is added at the end of a declarative sentence. A question fragment can also be added by itself either before or after a sentence. Examples: what? You lost your wallet. You are late. Why? Let us understand imperative sentences. Imperative sentence gives a command, a request, an advice, a suggestion, a warning, or a wish. They can be followed by a period, a question mark, or an exclamation mark. Let us see a few examples. Be quiet. Please have a seat. Watch out. Enjoy yourselves. Imperative sentences may be written like a question, but they aren't asking anything. Example: will you please mind your manners? A question fragment can be added at the end of an imperative sentence. This fragment is called a tag or a tail question. Let us see an example. Close the window, will you? Here, a question tag is added at the end of an imperative sentence. The simple subject of an imperative sentence is usually understood as you. Example: sit down. Here, the hidden subject can be understood as you. Hint: if a person's name is included in an imperative sentence, it is a direct address and not the subject. Example: Jose, sit down. At last, let us try to understand an exclamatory sentence. An exclamatory sentence exclaims or shows great emotion. Exclamatory sentences ends with an exclamatory mark. Let us see an example. That magic trick was amazing. This sentence here expresses the emotion of the speaker. This sentence, you can see, ends with an exclamation mark. Exclamatory sentences can begin with question words too. Example, how lovely to see you. Now, there's a fun fact. This punctuation mark is called the intro bang, oftenly represented by these marks too. It truly is a type of punctuation mark. It was invented by a journalist in 1962. Martin K. Spector combined the question mark and an exclamation mark, since he didn't like using two end marks. But it didn't catch on. Most teachers don't like to end marks too. Sometimes, though, you really need both. It's okay in informal writings. Only one punctuation mark at a time is enough in formal writings. See this with an example. Are you really coming over to my house on Friday? Now, this is end of this lecture. This is Anup sir saying thanks and goodbye.